welcome to another exciting edition of the Brother Marcus, Sister Cecilia, and the Marriage Keepers show. Oh my God, we are in for a wonderful treat tonight. We're going to be talking with our student minister, Brother Demetric Muhammad, and he is ready to come on in just a few minutes. We are so excited about what he's going to talk about with us because this is concerning black men and what we are doing and we're not doing in our own communities and our marriages. And I am so excited about what we are going to deal with tonight. I am Brother Marcus, and we've been doing this now for about 4 or 5 years. This is one of the first times we've had a person, Brother Minister Demetric's status directly from the team of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, who is on our show talking about this wonderful book that he's done around fatherhood, and he's going to be talking to us a little bit about that, but he's going to really be focused on the issues that we have to talk about in 2019. I am joined tonight by my wonderful wife, my helper in this cause, and she's just been so great in trying to help improve me and help me get where I'm supposed to be as a man. And I want to bring her to you, Sister Cecilia Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, dear. How are you tonight?
Thanking Almighty God, I am doing fine and very excited, like you mentioned, to have our student minister, Brother Demetric Muhammad, on, who did a phenomenal job at Savior's Day.
And yes,
just to know the caliber of a researcher that's always studying, looking deeper into the information, especially defending our leader, teacher, guide, to me, the Messiah in our midst, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. So I am definitely honored that he will be joining us tonight. And just excited, thanking Almighty God that we have the strength. And just, again, we have to look at the God coming in the person, Master Farad Muhammad and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the living and exalted Christ, because without those three men, we would not be here saying what we're saying, doing what we're doing in 2019. So we have to give all praise is due to Allah and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, who without his courage and boldness to represent them two men in this day and time. So I am indeed honored and humbled just to be here to assist y'all in any way that we can to help strengthen marriages, because we know that the number one priority when it comes to nation building is building strong families.
All praise is due to Allah. I'm just so happy that our brother is here with us. We, of course, have our brother who is always a part of this show wherever we go, Brother Demetric Muhammad, and he is going to, of course, represent that big city of, not Philadelphia, but New Jersey, and he is here. Brother Demetric, how are you, my dear brother?
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Marcus and Sister Cecilia. How y'all doing there?
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
All praise is due to Allah. I'm here from the great state of New Jersey, from the city of Trenton, New Jersey. And by the grace of Allah, I'm excited to hear Brother Demetric this evening, you know what I'm saying, to enlighten us on the things that we're going to be talking about. And I want to briefly, Brother Marcus, clear the air a little bit, because I sent you a message that I've been receiving from other brothers.
Okay.
And it's Assalamu alaikum. It's Assalamu alaikum, Brother Marcus. I received 7 inbox messages from brothers that wanted to know if today's show is going to be about male bashing. So some brothers admitted their default in duty. As one brother put it, we both, brothers and sisters, have been bit by the same enemy.
Yeah.
And we both, brothers and sisters, suffer from the same negative effects on our family and the black community. Some say they are looking for solutions tonight, not the male bashing that can be caused from years of unhealed pain and drama of the sisters. So I want to clear the air, because I know brothers, they listening in, and we don't want them to be hesitant And I believe you responded back to my comments, and you said that the Marriage Keepers show will be about our development and care. No one should have any fears.
Right. That's exactly right. And I'm very proud of sharing that with you and the audience who is looking at you, and they're looking at what you've posted. And I want all of our brothers to know that we love you very, very much. And we are definitely for you. We are for the brothers. We are not for foolishness, though. We do have to make that clear. We know that we all, men and women, got weaknesses and whatnot, and we try to focus on what we can do to strengthen them on this show. And so you have no fear from this show of anything that we're going to say that's going to bash you. The only thing you got to do is get your own foot out your own way, as the wonderful brothers over at the other radio station invited me to come on. And so, New Beginning. So I'm very happy that you're on, Brother Manatee, and I certainly hope and pray that God is going to bless you with something to say to add to what we are trying to do on this show. And I want to bring Sister Karima on. Sister Karima is another one of our guests who's always with us on this show. And Sister Karima, how are you doing, my dear sister?
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Alaikum salam.
I'm doing great. Thank Allah and His Christ. How's everybody doing tonight?
Man, we
Excellent.
good. By Allah's grace.
Great. By Allah's grace,
Praise
sister.
be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. That's right, by His grace. I can't wait for us to get into the conversation tonight.
That's right. That's really wonderful. All praises due to Allah.
I think we ready to do it.
Sister Karima, you know, our brother Manatee and the brothers who were with him were saying that we were going to bash brothers tonight. Do you have that fear we're going to bash brothers tonight?
No, I do not have that fear. I did read the post, and I was tickled. I said, boy, got some of the brothers shook.
Oh, man, for real. You know what I'm saying.
Look, Sister Karima got that beat 'em up bean soup.
Never that. Only the feeling being.
Beat 'em up bean soup.
Oh, man, that beat my bean soup. Oh, my God.
That's a new recipe I don't know nothing about.
That we're supposed to have. No, I don't know about the beat 'em up bean soup. All my bean soup is healing bean soup.
That's
But
right.
that's the conversation we need to have. That's for sure.
Yes.
All praises due to Allah. That's so very wonderful. And I just, you know, I want you all to know that our show, the Marriage Keepers show, is dedicated to trying to help Minister Farrakhan to improve marriages in the Nation of Islam and to get our single folks married. That's the idea behind what we are doing. We don't deal with brother bashing, sister bashing. All of it is designed to get you to come into the show and listen for a little bit about what we're doing. And also, so say you want to tell them a little bit about our marriage retreat that we got coming up and just some of the things that we're going to be doing.
Oh, yes, definitely. We have the marriage retreat of the 9th annual marriage retreat coming up August the 15th through the 19th for all of our married couples, Muslim, non-Muslims, as long as you're husband and wife, to participate in the marriage retreat to help strengthen. And see, that's interesting about the word. We hear certain words and we think, oh, it's going to be a bashing session. Right. And we have heard that even with the marriage retreat, right. Brother Manatee, brothers have said for years that they did not come because they thought their business was going to be out putting it on Front Street. And one brother, he came last year and he was like, it's nothing like that. And him and his wife were the first ones to sign up for this year. So even for those who are listening, who are worried about the marriage retreat being that, it's not that type of environment. It's a loving environment. It's a unified environment. We are there to give each other tools to help our marriages be better. And so I love the marriage retreats because, again, as the organizer and presenters of it, and along with our guest ministers that we have to participate in there, It is a loving environment. And I guess we're going to have to bring some of the husbands on the show to talk about their reaction for the marriage retreat, because it's a lot of brothers that think it's something that's going to be bad for them, when in fact it is great for you, and brothers enjoy themselves more than their wives do.
That's exactly right. And I mean, that's the thing that we want to do with you all who will be coming to the marriage retreat is nothing but love. There's so much love behind it. I mean, the love that you're going to have with your wife, the love she's going to have with your husband. Y'all going to be in that room together. We ain't going to be in that room with y'all. Y'all can do what y'all got to do to work things out in that room, in that bed. I mean, in your room. Okay, put it like that.
Oh my Lord.
I can tell you that, you know, we are not going to be in your room with you. You will have a big king-size bed to work all your frustrations and stress out with that woman, and that's going to be your thing to do and have a wonderful time with her and with him. And I just want to say that we don't have no qualms about trying to make peace in our homes. That's our theme for this year's marriage retreat, the making of peace. And how can we leave each other in peace in 2019? That's why we're doing the marriage retreat, my dear brothers and sisters.
And you get away from work. There's no post assignments. You have full time to focus on you and your wife. And that's a beautiful thing, because we have to have that time to re-energize, recommit to each other. Look at where we've gone from last year to this year, and say, baby, where can we improve? You know, there's always room for improvement. When we think there's no room for improvement, that's when we're in a danger zone.
That's exactly right. All praise is due to Allah. I just want y'all brothers and sisters to see that our work is a work of love, and that's what this is all about. Trying to get you to really see that we're trying to help the minister. And Minister Farrakhan, if you look at him, Minister Farrakhan's work is not a work of hatred for who you are as a black man. His work is a work of love for you. So if we're with Minister Farrakhan, we have to try our best to show you the love that he is showing in all of his speeches and activities. He's never said once, I hate the black man and I want to condemn him for his wrong. That's not his work, and that's not what we're trying to do. I see our dear beloved student minister is on. We have him tonight to bless us with 2 hours of commentary and whatnot, and I got a couple of letters that I got to read to him from people who have written me when they heard that Brother Demetric is on, and I'll get to those later, but we got to welcome him with a warm, loving spirit. Brother Demetric Muhammad, how are you, my dear brother? How are you tonight? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Marcus. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, my brother. How you feel?
But by Allah's grace and mercy, dear Brother Marcus and Sister Cecilia, I'm fine by Allah's grace and mercy, and actually traveling right now, but I would miss this for the world, and so I'm very happy to be on the program tonight. Much love and respect to you and Sister Cecilia for really doing such a wonderful job over the years of really being at the forefront of helping us in the Nation of Islam, as well as in the larger community of our people, to strengthen our marriages and to become better husbands and wives. And so I'm very delighted to be on with you all tonight.
All praise is due to Allah. We're so happy to have you, my brother. You know, first let's talk a little bit about this book that you've written. This dynamic book is one of many. You've written so many books, brother, but tell us about this one. This one is called Manhood, Principles and Parables, Concepts and Characteristics from the Holy Quran. Please tell us a little bit about this book.
Certainly, and thank you for referencing it. It's our latest publication. It's entitled Manhood, Principles, Parables, Concepts and Characteristics from the Holy Quran. And it grew out of our study
of various principles from the Quran that we believe help facilitate proper masculine development. And throughout our series of talks that we actually delivered through initially in several prison settings, but we realized that the application is actually universal, and we acknowledge that in the black community for the 80-plus years that the Nation of Islam has been in existence, there has been a consistent conclusion that is drawn, is that the men of the Nation of Islam have represented the strongest and most consistent and most positive portrait of what black manhood looks like.
Wow.
Thought that we would try to extract principles that have been at the base of our teaching and our training and compile them and to present them in a way that would again give principles to black men, but again, since we understand that we have a universal mission and a universal work, we recognize that this is the challenge for men of all ethnicities and all communities and all faiths. And since the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to Minister Farrakhan that of all of the books that our Savior, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, gave to him, the Holy Quran was the best of those books, and it was from his study of the Holy Quran that he built the Nation of Islam, that he produced portraits of strong manhood, the likes of Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, Muhammad Ali, and the thousands of unheard of members of the Truth of Islam class who received Mr. Muhammad's teaching and went on to become men of renown in their various fields of endeavor, as well as becoming responsible fathers, great husbands, great citizens, great brothers, great sons to their parents. And so we're very happy and excited about the release of this project, particularly in the climate in which we live in today in terms of current events, where it appears at every turn that all masculinity is being assailed and lumped into one category of toxic masculinity. So we're very happy and very excited about this new project.
All praise is due to Allah. Now, it's so on time because, you know, you look at black men in 2019. I saw, Minister, a brother at the Oscars wearing a dress. And this was not being criticized by nobody. He was wearing that dress proudly, a dress, proudly. And I wanted to know, what is this deal going on with brothers wearing dresses nowadays?
Yeah, well, you know, the minister has taught us for years, and he has devoted a large part of his ministry to working to rebuild black men. I can recall many lectures, one in particular called To Build a People, You Must First Build a Man. And we should never lose sight of the fact that America is a society where the prevailing and the fundamental idea that rules all institutions is white supremacy. And in order for white supremacy to thrive, it thrives on the foundation and on the precondition of the destruction of black manhood. And then when you add into that, Brother Marcus, the fact that we have been taught the time and what must be done, that this is the time of the rise, the resurrection and rise of black people, of brown people, of yellow people, of red people, of the poor and the oppressed of the earth, then in order to prevent the rise of fallen humanity, the Caucasian male who was perched atop the global system of white supremacy has had to target and assassinate black manhood, and it takes place in various forms. You are referencing one application of it, one manifestation of it, which is the demasculinization of black men, or the effeminization of black men, where the black male is being effeminized dehumanized, and he is made into basically
Brother, did we lose you?
reproduction.
Okay.
Pardon? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I thought we had lost you for a second there. Say that last sentence again.
Right. Well, I was saying that, the effeminization of black men is essentially the conversion of black men from men into women, or more plainly, the conversion of a seed giver to a seed receiver. And what I mean by that is that the lessons that we were given by our Savior tell us that black people globally outnumber white people by a ratio of 11 to 1. And there are many studies and there are many statistics and demographic reports that report that Caucasian people have a contracting population.
Right.
Not expanding, it's contracting.
Right.
Yet black and Latino people have an expanding population, even though it's not expanding at the rate that it once was, but it is still outstripping the white population. And so if you look at this phenomenon of the feminization of black men, then you see that the black man and his seed, the black woman and her egg, become weapons that organically and naturally displace a dwindling white population. But since the white man is a scientist, he looks at trends and looks into the future. He understands that without firing a shot from a carnal weapon, it's just only a matter of time that through natural human procreation and human reproduction, that he will be a smaller minority, which means that he has a much more difficult time of remaining in the position of the world ruler.
Oh my goodness.
So this phenomenon brings together scripture, it brings together science, it brings together family planning, demographics, popular culture, many different subjects when you want to talk about what's actually taking place today where black men are concerned in being effeminized as well as being targeted as victims of homicide, filling the school to prison pipeline. I mean, there are many different issues that we are facing today.
Absolutely, brother. And I really didn't like, there's so much that comes on television that I don't like in its portrayal of us as black men and really portraying us as animals. This whole R. Kelly thing, this whole Bill Cosby thing, they're setting us up for something that's diabolical. Let's go to Cecilia. Cecilia, what do you need to tell us?
I mean, just listening to Brother Minister Demetric, it lets us know that what we're looking at is purposely being systematically done to the black man. So as black women, what should we understand about this systematic destruction of the black man?
Well, that's a great question, Cecilia, because as you know and as everyone who may be listening is aware of, this is also connected to the controversies that took place last year regarding the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the women's movement, where you had our sisters Tamika Mallory and Carmen Perez, Linda Sarsour. They were attacked because they are favorable of Minister Farrakhan. They consider themselves sisters and allies to the Nation of Islam. And so there are certain groups of white females or white feminists and Jewish organizations that were pressuring them mightily to distance and disavow their brother and to repudiate their brother and really a father to them, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And what's very fascinating, just to wax spiritual for a moment, because the root of all of this is spirit, is that the Jewish people, they have never believed that the Messiah has been in the world.
Uh-huh.
They await him. They don't believe that the Jesus of 2,000 years ago is that Messiah. But what's fascinating about the Jewish belief is that they don't believe that the Messiah is going to float in on a cloud or just appear from outer space. I think it was in a lecture the minister delivered called How to Give Birth to a God, which is a magnificent series. He made this reference, Brother Marcus. He said Jesus is considered in religious scholarship to be the desire of women.
Right.
And he went on to explain that it wasn't that Jesus was the sexual desire of women, but it was that in ancient times, the women who were in bondage, the women who were oppressed, the women who had been downtrodden, the women who had been enslaved, they longed for and they desired and they had a belief that the Messiah would come into the world through their womb. So they believed that a woman from oppressed people would give birth to a man-child who would deliver them, who would protect them, and in addition to that, he would rule the nations of the earth with a rod of iron.
Wow.
And so when you understand that, then you understand that they know, and they have for a long time understood our true identity as a people, that we are the people of God. And J. Edgar Hoover was looking for the Messiah among black people.
Right.
He would be a black woman's son. So the real relationship that is, I think the key relationship is the mother-son relationship, because Mary and Jesus in the scriptures, the Quran says, is a sign. And so black women and their sons are signs, and they have been targeted. And if you'll notice, the white feminist movement has for many years sought to pull black women away from the struggle with their men to come and join them in this struggle of women.
Wow.
And though white women have never distanced themselves from their men to come to the aid and to support the struggle of black people. Case in point, we all heard candidate Donald Trump boast that he could use his celebrity status to just kiss a woman or boop a woman or really just be savage where women are concerned. And yet, when the election was decided, who got the majority of the white female vote? Not their white sister, Hillary. You would think that certainly Hillary Clinton would have received the white female vote, the majority, but it was Donald Trump. So white women would rather, they prioritize their whiteness over their gender, but they want black women to prioritize their gender over their black.
Wow.
And so therein lies the rub. And our sisters have to understand that our struggle is a struggle not of the male versus the female, not in the black community. That's not our struggle. Our struggle is the black male and the black female struggling against white supremacy, the white male and the white female. That's their team. Our team is the black male and the black female, and we can't afford to misunderstand and allow our struggle to dissipate and to be bifurcated by having our women leave the struggle of black men and join the struggle of white women, because at the end of the day, after the dust settles and the smoke clears, white women behind the door are working to promote and perpetuate white supremacy right along with their man, who is their son. See, when you look at the relationship between mothers and sons, it becomes really clear where loyalties lie. White females do not want their sons to be subject to the sons of black females. You know, and so the last point I'll make on that is this. In Israel right now, they have a marketing campaign in the sperm bank, because as I referenced, Caucasian people globally are having a very difficult time having children and reproducing themselves. And would you know, Brother Marcus and Sister Cecilia, that the sperm banks are generations from the Israeli soldiers.
Wow.
Those men who are from the Israeli Defense Forces, that's who they want to come and to be the sperm donors, because the women who are looking to have children, they want to carry the seed of the most courageous, the strongest, and the most sacrificial men who would sacrifice for the people. And more than anything, they want to carry the seed of the men who are willing to fight their enemies.
Wow.
It's very, very important, because when they look, they want that for themselves, but they want to deny that what black women are. What to keep Minister Farrakhan and men who have been inspired and infused with his mind and spirit from becoming the ideal of the preferred man in the black community. So they want to be able to reproduce babies who will go to fight their enemies, but they don't want the black woman to be able to do the same.
Wow, that's something to think about, my brother. That's, you know, we face a very vicious beast, and I don't want you all ever to forget that white man is notorious against us. He hates our black skin, and I'm very happy that you're here, Brother Demetric, telling us about this. I want to bring on student Brother Manatee and Sister Karima. They're also with us tonight. Brother Manatee, what is your question for Brother Minister Demetric?
Yeah, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Demetric. This is Brother Manatee. How you doing, brother?
Wa alaikum salam. Fine, by Allah's grace, sir. How are you?
Okay, this is Bob. I'm doing great. A quick question. I was reading Student Minister Louis' book, Before You Say I Do. And he wrote in the topic, the characteristics of a real man. And he was saying, the originator, let's look closely at the characteristics of the original first husband. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the self-created God, he waged war on the darkness. So the first characteristic of the real man is that he must be a warrior. Any man that will not operate in the world with the mind of a warrior and a soldier, when you're black in America, you are not a soldier, then you are going to be a punk and a cheap man for life, because we live in a world diametrically opposed to the black man's rise. Can you kind of elaborate on that and bring some more clarity to what he was saying?
Well, I would have to say that I agree wholeheartedly with my dear brother, Student Minister Louis, and I would go on to say that, you know, we have many different pathologies in the black community, and but we must always be reminded that we are good people, and that, as the scripture says, we are destroyed and we exhibit these various pathologies because of a lack of knowledge. And so a large part of the work that has to be done, where we are concerned as brothers, as men, is number one, being retrained, and number two, the development of the proper attitude. You know, I do a lot of work with young black men in incarcerated settings. And one of the things that I have concluded over many years of working with young men and older men alike is that oftentimes we don't have the right attitude, the right orientation of mind with respect to the challenges and the problems and the issues of life. So we end up rationalizing illegal, immoral, or unethical behavior. We end up oftentimes giving up and checking out of difficult situations that appear in our life. And at the root of it is that we don't have the right attitude because we have not had the right training. If you go into the self-improvement study guide, and this is an important point, the minister says that attitudes over time harden into beliefs. But there's also the swinging of that pendulum in the opposite direction, where beliefs new beliefs that are informed from knowledge, training, education, and information to new and better attitudes. So what you are discussing from my dear brother and friend, Minister Louis' book, you will find similar in my work, because one of the subtitles of our book, the introduction, is called The Study of God as the Blueprint for Masculine Development. So we encourage that we study the Creator in all of his 99 attributes. We study his relationship to the human being as it is described in Scripture. And then we use what God is to become the blueprint and the pattern and the model for what we must become like. And you begin to find that the more we take on new information, we develop a new, a better, and a proper attitude. But as you reference in that quote, part of the proper attitude is seen in our willingness to meet and overcome obstacles and difficulties. I think it is in the Holy Quran in Surah 90, ayat number 4, where Allah says, and surely we have created man to face difficulty. That is significant because most psychologists agree that whenever a threat is present, whenever a challenge is present, our primal instinct is either one of two responses, fight or flight. So often in the black community as men, we choose flight. We may have gotten a woman pregnant, and we don't know how we're going to care for that child. So we choose the option of flight. We may have felony convictions and can't get a conventional job. So instead of sticking it out and trying to find a way that's legal, moral, and ethical to earn a means of subsistence, we retreat or we flight into that which is illegal, immoral, or unethical. So at the root of our proper masculine development is we must have the attitude that, as you point out, Brother Louis is referencing, that we must fight. And knowing that Allah has created us with the material, with the prerequisites, with the nature, with the capacity, not just to fight or to face difficulty, but to fight and win.
And win.
That is helpful to us, and it should, if we are men of faith, give us the necessary spirit to face any challenge that confronts us.
And Sister Karima, your question for Brother Minister Demetric?
So, yes, ma'am. Thank you. What would you say to the brother who is listening right now, who desires to be the God that Allah has created him to be, but he is experiencing challenges, very real challenges? You know, has visions of building a business and wants to take care of his family, but is finding it exceptionally difficult. Yet his wife or his girlfriend is doing very well, and it's beginning to bother him. What is the way forward for that man?
Well, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us, the first thing we must do is to gain and to acquire knowledge. And we must also seek refuge in our Creator. You know, masculinity in American society is often divorced from a relationship with God. And so you have the stereotypical alpha male or the man's man or the prototypical man, but he's never portrayed as the man of God. And we are taught that we are spiritual by nature. So every man must develop a proper relationship with his Creator. And we know that in the history of Islam begins in this dispensation, 1400 years ago, with the command to Prophet Muhammad to read. none of us can, in a world like we live in, afford to remain in a state of ignorance. And one of the things I learned over the years is a helper to student minister Anthony Muhammad. He was always a man that believed what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Minister Farrakhan, brother, everything you ever wanted to know has already been written down in a book somewhere. And so whenever problems and challenges would arise, he would always go and study it first, because you can't address any negative condition or negative circumstance in your life without a proper understanding of it. But we know historically that there was great efforts, great obstacles, I should say, placed in the pathway of the acquisition of knowledge. There were even a such thing as compulsory ignorance law in this country. So just as a man that, like all men, face challenges and face opportunities for improvement, the first thing I do is I pray about it. And then I begin to study. And then I begin to see where even through a negative set of circumstances, there are positive potentialities. And then I develop a game plan. I develop a strategy to begin to take advantage of the positive potentialities even in a negative circumstance. And I would say this, Jesus says in the New Testament, which is a very powerful indictment, he said, birds have nests, foxes have homes, but the sons of men have no place to lay their heads. Now that's fascinating when you pause to think about what he's saying, considering that as a man, we are created to be the greatest in God's creation. Yet we are the lower forms of animal life, having better accommodations than many of us as men, and women, and human beings for that matter. So what is wrong with us? As such, to solve the problems of our life, it begins with solving the problems in our head. And again, my work with many of our brothers is that we are beautiful men, we are talented, we have great potential, but our greatest deficiency is a lack of knowledge and the absence of a true relationship with our Creator. And so much could be said in response to that. But those are two of the roots that I have observed as our issues as men that we should start with in order to solve any set of negative circumstances in our life.
I'm so happy that you said what you said about reading, Brother Minister. That is so powerful because so many of us disdain reading. We don't like to read. We'd much rather watch television than to read a book. That's like taboo for us. I'm not reading nothing. And it's like the old Al Bundy syndrome. He scored 4 touchdowns at Polk High School. And after he scored those touchdowns, then his life was over. I'm not going to do anything else to better myself, to become somebody in this world. I'm so happy that you're saying that. Cecilia, you wanted to say something?
And that goes right into the book here on page 28, Brother Demetric, where you have from belief to attitude to action. And I think that's where a lot of the issues start, is that we have the belief, we have the great attitude, but it's the action that is the issue. Can you talk to that for us, that going from belief to attitude to action that is on page 28 in your book, Manhood?
Yes. One of the points, as I was referencing to Brother Manatee, Minister says in the study guide that attitudes over time harden into belief. And this is when attitudes have been shaped and formed by things like the way we were reared or raised, our life experiences, cultural reality. And so when there are attitudes that have been formed as a result our critics have acknowledged that we have represented in Black America a portrait of strength, something of a masculine ideal. Well, the point that I make in the book is that this is a result of an attitude that we have toward manhood based upon our belief in the fundamental teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that man is God. So our display of masculinity is rooted in our sincere effort to strive to be like the God that created us. So we're willing to face criminal elements. We're willing to go into hostile environments and take on drug dealers. We're willing to face the rejection of our people by trying to share with them something as simple as a newspaper. We are willing to speak truth to power, standing against the forces of white supremacy, all because we believe that man is God. We believe in the fundamental message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So that gives us an attitude, to use modern vernacular, that gives us a certain swag. And so on the basis of that, actions flow from that. Actions flow from belief that becomes attitude. And so when you have the proper belief and the proper attitude, we have the proper action. And as you pointed out, Sister Cecilia, sometimes the action part is the part that's most lacking. And so we have to make sure that as men, we never forget that at the end of the day, it's not about our oral expression, but it's about what we are actually able to produce. And so, that therein lies, the great challenge, or an aspect of the great challenge.
I want to ask you, Brother Minister, to give me an answer to this question here. Is a man ever too old to learn something?
Not at all. In fact, that's a part of the attitude that we must have as men, to be lifelong learners. It's amazing you asked that question, because some brothers have purchased the book. They have said, I'm buying this for my nephew.
Right.
I'm buying this for my son.
Right.
And I think to myself, so what you're saying is that you can't benefit from, you got to do this for somebody else, because you've already arrived. I mean, you good, you straight. You know what I mean? And so you're right, Brother Marcus. Reminds me of after World War II, when America helped Japan rebuild itself. When Japan, at a certain point, Japan became the superior manufacturing power. And at the root of Japan's superior manufacturing power was their belief in a philosophy that they say in Japanese is kaizen, which simply means continuous improvement. And so that attitude must be our attitude as men, regardless of how much money we make, how much knowledge we acquire, how physically fit we become, how satisfied our families are with us. We must always strive to be better. We must always strive to produce more. We must always strive to reach higher. And this is again why the theology of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is so important. I was sharing with some brothers that in some of my interactions with the Sunni community, I have learned that many of them really admire the nation, and they specifically admire the FOI, and they yearn to have men like the FOI in the masjids.
That's true.
But
that's so true.
Do not want the theology
that's exactly
of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's what they don't want.
And yet it is the theology of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that produces what you see in the FOI. It's that part that they don't like, that Elijah says that man is God, that Elijah said he met with God and was missioned by God, and now he's to produce a nation of God. They don't like that part, but they want to see the strong men in their community. And so, again, none of our training, and I emphasize this, none of our training as men can ever be divorced from the theology of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because his theology is a theology of proper masculine development.
Wow.
And that goes right into another part of your book here on page 46, where you're saying, accepting the divine invitation to growth and development. And you're saying, I heard Minister Farrakhan once describe the development of men of consequence and importance, great men, as being similar to how a metalsmith or blacksmith who works with metals processes them using intense heat and fire. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yes, I think this was in a message, the will of God. And, you know, the minister has always taught us about what is the most important attribute of Allah in the Quran, which is Rabbil Alameen. I believe the proper name Allah appears in the Quran about 2,200 times. But of all of the other attributes, the attribute of Rab appears maybe about 960 times. And this is the descriptive characteristic of God that says that whatever he creates, he never creates a thing in its final form. He creates it to evolve, to grow it, to change it, to perfect it. And so many times, you know, you ask a man, for instance, you ask a woman, for instance, do you want to grow? Obviously, the answer is yes. But oftentimes, we are not so willing to accept the pain and the difficulty that attends to growth and development. And so the minister was sharing in that message that if we don't understand the methodology of God in the producing of men and women of consequence, we may be involved in the process of growth and development, but if we don't understand that pain and difficulty followed by ease, followed by more difficulty, followed by ease, followed by more difficulty is a part of the process, we may become frustrated, we may become fatigued, and abort the process of our own growth and development. So he said we have to understand that just as, and it used to be a commercial, I'm sure Brother Marcus remembers it back in the day. There was a U.S. Marine Corps commercial. It was a great commercial where they were forging a sword.
Yes.
It was the very thing that the minister was describing.
Yes,
you see
sir.
the man put the iron ore into the furnace, and it begins to soften the iron. And then he beats it with a mallet or a hammer, and he shapes it. Then he cools it. Then he puts it back in the fire. And this is a process that continues until what emerges is this magnificent piece of ornamental iron or steel that can be used to function as a sword. And so the minister was using that as a metaphor for how God develops us. You know, I think that one of the counterintuitive aspects of religion is that people often fall into painful experiences of suffering in their life, and they cry out for and they seek God. However, they are never really expecting that their relationship with God will summarily or eventually produce pain, suffering, and difficulty.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's analogous, the pain, suffering, and difficulty that Allah, as Rabbil Alameen, visits us with I like to use the metaphor of how, you know, we could be in pain because we have a bad lifestyle. And we say, well, I want to go in the gym, I want to begin to exercise, I want to begin to eat right, etc. And so you're happy, you go in the gym, you feel good, you get the runner's high, you experience the euphoria. But the next morning, your whole body feels like you've been run over by a truck. Well, now, you had pain because you weren't living a healthy lifestyle, and now you got pain because you decided to become physically fit. Obviously, these are two different types of pain. The first pain, because we hadn't been fit, that's a destructive pain. But the pain because there's lactic acid building up in our muscles as the muscles broken down and rebuilt, that's a constructive pain. So we as men have to embrace the constructive pain of growth and development that is not because we are sinful or we are doing the wrong thing. Sometimes God visits a man that he wants to make a better man with pain and difficult circumstances. We have to be patient enough and understand this to stay in the process so that we don't abort the process and abort our ascendancy to really becoming the man that in our heart of hearts we desire to be and we know that we are born to be. You know, the minister did this example once. He said, you know, if I asked all of you in this audience to raise your hand, if you believe you were born to do something great, everybody's hand would go up. Now, we don't always, especially in masculine culture, we don't necessarily talk about these kinds of things, you know, among our male friends. We don't necessarily confide within our homie or our best friend that we believe deep in our hearts. You know, we believe we were born to do something great, but we still maintain this belief. Yet, how can we ever become that if we never embrace the process that is required in order for us to become that? I share with some of the brothers in the institution often, I said, you know, I don't care who you look up to, who you admire. It could be T.I., it could be Lil Wayne, it could be LeBron James, it could be Usain Bolt, because whatever is our thing, there's some brother or some sister that's at the top of that field. And oftentimes we admire them once they have ascended to the top of their field. But they weren't even on our radar while they were toiling, while they were struggling, while they were mired in obscurity, plying their trade and becoming great. Nobody was in the gym when Jordan was shooting 500 free throws or 300 layups by himself, becoming the great basketball champion that he ultimately became. We just recognized the star once it's emerged from the darkness and his light is so bright. But it was still a star in formation even when it was in the dark. And so all of us as men must embrace that process if we're ever to be the men that we desire to be and the men that we have the potential of becoming.
I think I'm listening to you, brother, and I'm loving what you're saying. Are you really saying tonight to us as black men, those of us who are husbands, you know, and our wives have sort of, they don't really believe in us anymore? What do you say to the black woman who doesn't really believe in the black man anymore, that he has the real potential to become something special? What do you say to her who doesn't believe that the black man can ever be somebody special?
Well, you know, I would say that this is why the teaching is so important to us. Because when we understand that so much about our experience with one another is artificial and unnatural, and that it has been socially engineered, this knowledge should make us a lot more patient with one another. You know, if you read, I think on the backside of tuition of a young black student. And he was writing to one of his friends, and he was saying, I wouldn't do this for a white student. He said, but where the Negro is concerned, their condition is our fault. He said, because we have ground the manhood out of them. I think about that. That's a powerful admission.
God have mercy.
We have ground the manhood out of them. Wow. So we have not been the men in the lives of our women that they have needed or that they have desired. And so we are working in progress. And if we are unwilling to be patient with one another, then that's our loss, But if there's a sincere man or a sincere woman who believes in God, and, you are continuing to do that which is right for you to do, and you are remaining faithful and productive, then Allah always will come to our aid and help and assist us. I would hope that in our communities, as I said earlier, we would not become unwitting participants to the war of the sect. That's not our fight. That's not our struggle. I know academics and progressives are touting this thing, intersectionality. But in many ways, intersectionality is the new integration. In many ways, intersectionality is the new non-economic liberalism. See, whenever the oppressed begin to rise, I always remember something, one of my favorite quotes from Minister Ava. She said many years ago, and always stuck with me, she said, the white man knows how to become the leader of his own opposition. And it was so profound because when you come to understand that he's the oppressor, he's wise though, he's not no fool. So he understands that a resistance will rise up against him. Well, his response is to run to get in front of it, to misdirect, to point it in the wrong direction, so that it never will achieve what it purposes to achieve. And so if we get into this, that's why I hate to see in social media, these posts of the man ain't this, the woman ain't that, and look at these ratchet women and look at these no good men. I'm like, that's not productive and constructive for us. We need to be taking an attitude of love and patience with one another because we both have deficiencies in our representation of the fundamental roles of husband, father, wife, mother, sister, brother. There are deficiencies of...
Brother Demetric?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Your phone went out slightly.
Yeah, I don't think it is productive for us to give up on one another. God has not given up on us. So I don't think it's productive for us to give up on one another.
And so how important then is that the marriage? Why is that a key relationship for the power of the black man? Being married, the foundation of marriage. Why is that such a key component for our black men? We're answering this question for our single brothers.
Well, as you know, the wealth of the world is not consolidated into wealthy individuals. The wealth of the world is consolidated into wealthy families. And so one of the most revolutionary acts that any of us could be involved in is the construction of successful marriage and family life. And the ruling powers of the world are ruling families. And we know that the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that when they were appropriating money to build Howard University, that they determined three things they would not teach the newly freed slaves. The science of business, the science of warfare or military training, and the science of mating. So those of us who are single, then we should have the desire to get married. We should have the desire to produce successful marriage and family life. And I mean, I'm sure you all have over the years touted all of the statistics that married men are healthy, married men have more money, married men live longer. I mean, they have statistically vindicated the benefits of marriage and family life. But again, history is helpful for us to understand certain attitudes that still persist. In the slave codes, marriage was illegal among slaves. One of the things that we point out in the introduction is that there were laws that the father of a slave and the husband of a slave had no existence in law. Now think about that. That the father of a slave had no existence, not even recognized in law, and the husband of a slave wasn't recognized in law. So we understand now, even though many people don't want us to deal with slavery in that history, the science of epigenetics has vindicated our focus on slave history, because epigenetics says that trauma experienced over a protracted period of time is passed on from one generation to the next. So many of our attitudes, many of our predilections, our behavioral norms, folkways and mores that began during our experience as chattels, as property, like a chair, like a table, like a hammer. We were chattels. Many of the ways we think and act today were formed back then. And so we developed certain attitudes toward marriage and family life. We developed certain attitudes towards male-female relationships. And that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, over and over and over again, he would say the so-called Negro is not fit for self. He must be completely re-educated and retaught and retrained, because damn near everything that we learned in our experience as chattels must be thrown away. And we must be retaught and relearned all over again. Now that's a painful process, especially for people who are arrogant or who are filled with self-pride or who think that their masters taught them properly. So we have to unlearn a lot and relearn a lot.
Wow, that's something to think about, what you're saying, Brother Minister. This is very good information that you're giving us tonight. I want to ask Sister Karima Muhammad, do you have any questions, my sister? Sister Karima?
Yes, sir. I have not had an opportunity to purchase manhood yet. And I know it was mentioned earlier that some of the brothers that came up and looked at the book were going to buy it for sons and nephews, etc. Why do you feel that there is such a disconnect between what we already know is a deficiency within our men and the desire or even being compelled to seek out the necessary information that is needed to evolve, to grow? What is that resistance? What is that root of that resistance?
Well, I think that, there's a certain amount of false pride. There's a certain amount of ignorance. It's like when you ask a person, how you doing? And they say, I'm doing all right. And the only reason that you asked them that question was because you could see they're not doing all right. But they say, I'm doing all right. did a Google image search at some point during the research for black manhood. And because I, was brainstorming and looking for images and just things to kind of, help me fleshing out the project. And when I looked for black manhood, most of what I got was stuff related to sex and the black man's male organ.
That's exactly right, brother.
I said, that's fascinating because when we talk about manhood in our community, a lot of times it centers around our sexual prowess.
Yes.
It centers around our ability not to be a father, but to make a baby or to sexually satisfy a woman. And so if you now come to a man and you say, without qualifying your statement, we need to study manhood, we need to develop and improve our manhood, he may interpret in his mind, are you saying that I'm sexually inadequate?
Wow.
So there's a lot that attends to the reaction. And that's why I didn't say anything to the brothers that said it, because I understand they're saying that. But when they get that book that they just bought and they get by themselves, they're going to open it up and start reading it. I don't care if they bought it as a gift for whomever. Most are going to at least look through it. And I think that Allah has blessed us that if they look through it, it'll capture their attention. And so several have come back and said, man, I need to get another. And so there are a lot of things that affect us not embracing that we need to take this up as a study. Again, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, everything you ever wanted to know is already written down in a book somewhere. So now think about many of the things that we struggle with in our community that are like bread and butter, day-to-day issues we struggle with, but we never stop to think, man, why don't I just go and buy a good book on that subject? So when I do these classes in the prisons, one of the things I ask the brothers, I said, man, how many of y'all got a wife? Some raise their hand. How many of you got a fiance? Others raise their hand. How many of you got children? And, a lot of them raise their hand. And the next question is, how many of you have ever read a book about being a father? How many of you have ever read a book about being a husband? Now, these are the two most important roles that any of us as men could function in. Yet, we admit we never sought any knowledge on the subject.
Absolutely not. That's right, brother.
Never.
That's right.
And we just think that we just supposed to automatically know how to do it.
That's right. I'm supposed to know.
And yet there are hundreds of thousands of books on fatherhood, hundreds of thousands of books on married and family life. So when you talk about manhood, I know I'm at a great advantage because unless I break it down what I mean and give to them this idea that I'm promoting that in the way we were taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan, is the solution to undoing what white America did to ground the manhood out of us. Unless I explain that, many brothers may take it as an insult that I'm even raising that they need to take this up as a study because in their mind, my manhood, that he talking about, my sexual prowess.
That's right.
He talking about, can I physically fight or defend myself? So there's so many different warped notions and concepts of manhood that we have to qualify what we're talking about to get buy-in from those of us, which is all of us, that need to take up such a study.
Man, this is so powerful, brother. And I mean, I bear witness to exactly what you're saying. I've seen it in the work that I do, especially around marriage and singles, trying to help singles to find somebody. You know, our concept of what manhood is so bankrupt in 2019, and that we've got to come to some kind of place in our lives where we see that I've got to get more knowledge in my head so that I can do better. And that's what your book provides for us. It's knowledge that we need to do better. And that's what you are trying to say to us in this book, and also in your other books, because you haven't talked about the other books you did. Could you please at least mention them, Brother Minister?
Yes, sir. We have done How to Police the Black Community.
Okay.
Who Do They Say I Am? The Vindication of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. When You Get Into Trouble, Nurse from Your Holy Quran. We have done the 2 article series books, the Pittsburgh Courier Articles Collection and the New Amsterdam News Articles Collection of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his earliest writings. We have also done the Dictionary of the Supreme Wisdom Lessons, and the Ramadan Historic Digest and Journal. So we've tried to be regular in sharing important information and knowledge with our people to help us.
Due to Allah.
You know, ignorance is our greatest disease in our community.
You right now.
The Prophet Hosea, you know, he said we destroy because of a lack of knowledge.
That's right. That's exactly right. We got people who want in on this discussion, Brother Minister.
Sure.
Can I please let them into the conversation?
Of course.
Okay, we have Brother, I think this Jesse X is wanting to enter this conversation. Brother Jesse, how you doing tonight, my friend? 210347.
Yes, sir. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you so much, dear Minister, for all your words and for your wisdom. I'll praise you to Allah. I guess to chime on in with that as far as how we see manhood and what we see manhood in, what our take on it is, because, well, like myself, manhood was just something that my dad would just be doing as a provider. But as far as partaking in my life or his other children's lives, that's where his absence was. And even as far as my mother seeing it, she's like, okay, just see what your father does, do the opposite of it, and take it from there.
Wow.
Even at the get-go, when I was 18, I was graduated from high school and college. That was my whole point. I was like, okay, I want to get married, I want to have a family, want to be a better father, and so forth. And even then, I would take these parenting classes, fatherhood classes that were in the community that did help, but only to a certain extent. And even up till now, that's why when I came to the nation 4 years ago, it was to better improve me as a father or into manhood, because I'm still continuing on going. I'm 32 years old and I'm still learning things. And I've been blessed with 4 beautiful children, and they all live with me, and all praise is due to Allah. But definitely, I need to definitely buy your book and check out that mantra, because definitely there's always room for improvement, and all praise due to Allah. And thank you for a wonderful, great show, Brother Marcus, Student Minister, and thank you so much.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you, Brother Jesse. We appreciate you. You have any comment for Brother Jesse, my brother?
Nothing but just to say thank you for sharing, you know, your personal testimony, and I salute you in trying to improve upon your life. All of us are challenged with that, to try to make our representation of fatherhood as good as it can be. Sometimes we can be motivated because we feel that, or we know that, our fathers were not what we desired, or not what we wanted. However, we should always be very, I would say, balanced in our views of Father, because I have found, and I'm sure you have found this, Brother Marcus, most of the time, because of how life has been for black men never really get a chance to offer an explanation or a perspective from their side of things to their children.
Right.
And so the children can grow up only having the view of the mother. If the view of the mother is balanced, the child can have a balanced view. But if the view of the mother is not balanced, then sometimes the child can have an imbalanced view of their father. And as the minister has encouraged us, I even used to hear Brother Sharif teach on this years ago about reaching out to our fathers. Once we become men of maturity and men of knowledge, if our fathers are still alive, we owe it to them to get their version of things. We owe it to them to reach out to them in sincerity and say, Dad, what happened? I wish you had been there. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. And we may be surprised.
That's right.
At his side of things, because there's always more than one side, you know. And so I salute you, my brother, for being motivated to be a great man in the life of your children. But I would encourage you also, as your brother, if your father is alive, you know, try to have some conversations with him and allow him to share his view of how the things transpired when you were growing up.
That's so very beautiful, brother. And I'm telling you, you know, this is the kind of things that we got to do. You know, I talk to so many fathers, and so many men have problems with other black men that were in their lives. And most of it revolves around that father. My father wasn't the man that he was supposed to be. And when we start talking about fathers, we see brothers start crying. We see all kind of emotions being shared about my father. And I just wanted to, is there anything in your book, Brother Demetric, about fathers, about your father, and how to, you know, what went on with him? I'm just asking.
I don't talk so much about my father, even though I was, you know, so deeply in love with my father. My father is the one who introduced me to Islam. Mm-hmm. And he didn't stay in the ranks of the nation, but he brought me to it, you know. And he's passed on now. May Allah be pleased with him. But, yes, I do take up the subject as a principle, because one of my favorite passages in the entire Holy Quran is Luqman's advice to his son. Uh-huh. And so in the book, I write about Luqmani fatherhood, because in Surah 31, Luqman's representation of fatherhood is seen in his sharing or passing on of wisdom to his son. And the Quran says it was wisdom given to him from God. Now, what is often lost in translation sometimes is that scholars have concluded that Luqman was a black man. He was an African. He was an ancient black man passing on wisdom from father to son. Now, we know, those of us who study Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching, that that's how the knowledge of God is passed down.
Uh-huh.
The knowledge of God is passed down from father to son. Whichever man will occupy that seat in the council of the 24 scientists who will rule for that cycle of history, he's given that knowledge and wisdom from his father. So looking at fatherhood from the lens of Luqman and the things that Luqman shares with his son, which, as I always say, this is not just for Luqman and his son, this is for all of us. But it's helpful to us. I remember one time, Brother Marcus, I was talking with a brother inside the prison. He's a Muslim brother. And he was saying that, you know, when he would call home, the children always on the PlayStation, always on the video game. And so he told me, he said, Muhammad, man, the first thing when we getting ready to go home, he said, first thing I got to do, man, I'm going to take that game away from them children and, you know, I'm going to put some order and some discipline in the house.
Uh-huh.
And I said, brother, let's think for a minute. That wouldn't be the wise thing to do. I said, you've been away for years. Not because you were an angel or a saint, but you've been out of your children's life. You're going to come back into your children's life and show up as a tyrant, a dictator,
Absolutely.
and someone who's going to institute the law? I said, brother, let me help you understand something. Since you've been gone, there's a phenomenon now of children killing their parents. You know, so you don't want to go in. You can't take that role. You don't have the moral authority to come in and be the disciplinarian. That if you ever get that back, that's on into the future. I said, why don't you come out and realize that maybe the PlayStation, maybe the Xbox was your replacement?
Oh, wow. Damn.
Your children, the time that they would have spent with you, they had to spend it with a game because their dad is in prison. So maybe you need to come in and take the role not as the disciplinary.
Uh-huh.
Let the mother continue to do that. You be the teacher. You be the example. You be the one that shows love and try to give to your children the knowledge that you wish someone had gave to you.
Absolutely.
That would have kept you from entering a place like this. But don't rush for that disciplinarian role. And I'm glad you bring up this thing on fatherhood, because a lot of us as fathers, we think that's the summation of what fatherhood is.
Uh-huh.
Getting a belt, getting a switch.
Right. Come on.
And just whooping children, and you know what I mean? We sitting down and lay of the land. And we may not have the moral authority to discipline our children based upon what our example in front of them has been.
Wow. Lord have mercy. So you about to open up another can, brother, when you talk about what you just said right there. And we'll deal with that in another show, because I'm telling you, disciplining children is something we really got to discuss. And you know, especially these children out here.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful.
They'll take that belt and whoop your butt.
For real.
Oh my God. All praise is due to Allah. I got another question coming in. May I please present that question to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. This is 918313. You're on live with the Brother Marcus. This is Cecilia in the Marriage Keepers show. What is your question or comment?
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Walaikum salam. This is our brother Ivan.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Yes, sir. Hey, brother Ivan, man, how you doing? One day at a time, big brother. One day at a time. All praise is due to Allah. You know, you made my Savior's Day, man. Sir, you made my Savior's Day. Oh, brother, you made mine, soldier. Yes, sir. My mother actually
saw that and read what you said, and she really liked what you had to say.
All praise
Yes, sir.
to Allah.
Thank you so much.
What I wanted, you were talking about the pain of, manhood and becoming a man, the association of pain. We want to be great men, and I wanted to relate that to, the passing of my wife, if I can talk about that, is related to this. There's so many things in my wife's passing that has made me face about my own manhood, the inadequacy that I have as a man in the loss of my wife. And even though I did the best that I could in the care of my wife, there's so many things that I've discovered in her absence as a result, and it is very painful. The loss of her in of itself is painful. But the loss of her has made me really look at where I have to really improve as a man. While I thought I was on point, I'm really not. And so, you had spoken earlier about, there's a pain associated with becoming the kind of man that we want to be. Unfortunately, the loss of my wife has made me have to see it in a particular way. I had to lose my wife to see some things about myself. Very painful. And so when you said that, I was like, wow, he's hitting on what I've been thinking about since she passed. And even though I know that I'm a decent man, but man, the stuff that I've had to really face about myself, because see, when she was here, there's certain things I didn't even have to discover. Not discover. Certain things I didn't really consider because I was involved in taking care of her. But once she was gone, Lord have mercy. And so I really appreciate, this what you were talking about the becoming of men when you said, what the hell is wrong with us? I'm so glad that you qualified it, Brother Marcus. You qualified it at the beginning about not being a male bashing session. But nonetheless, what you're talking about is real. And a lot of us, we're decent men, and a lot of us don't want to become men because there's a lot of pain, real pain associated with being a real man.
Yes, sir. All praise.
And so, I just thank Allah for what you all are doing because, man, I'm telling you, I'm in my 50s now, and I was almost 50 years old when I got married. And I always said that July 20th, 2016, I was formally introduced to my manhood, which was the day that I married my wife.
Yes, sir.
So I really started to understand what all the brothers that have been married for years were talking about. In the beginning of our relationship, it was pretty rough because of me and because of what I didn't properly do in the beginning to prepare for her and her son. And so, those are the things that I'm dealing with. And that's, even though now there's a lot of good things that have come out of it, and people are congratulating me on how I tried to help my wife, and they acknowledge that. But for me, the most painful part is where I fell short at, and where I know I got to improve. Whenever I get married again, I got to do better.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, sir, I just wanted to share that. If that's,
Thank you so very much, brother. May Allah bless and keep you. I want to give you the floor, brother. Minister, what do you think?
Well, hey, listen, I just salute my brother. I was, met him at Savior's Day and was really touched by some of the things he shared with me, and he's in my prayers. His family's in my prayers, and I think that, what you're expressing, is the proper attitude that we were talking about, is that, we must always improve. We can always be better, regardless of how successful we have been. The old saying, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And that's one of the things that I have identified as a characteristic feature of our beloved minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I know a lot of times, and the minister has said this for a lot of years, that, he would he was told by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, brother, you don't really need to do all of that preparation. You just go and stand and let Allah speak through you. And that's true. But I also bear witness that the minister does a great deal of preparation. And the minister is always trying to be better. Even at 85.
That's right.
He's always working to be better at what he does. And not just at the rostrum, but even in his personal life, even in his relationship with his wife, even in his relationship with his children. You know, I have been blessed by Allah's grace to work directly with the minister for the last 9 years, all over the country, in many different settings, in many different situations. And I see a man that, as admired and as loved and as successful as he is always working to become better at who he is and what he does, and especially his relationships in terms of being a father and in terms of being a husband. And so any of us that have that attitude, then, you know, we have the right attitude, because we can do great, but we can always be better.
Praise belongs
And
to
those
Allah.
things that adversity introduces a man to himself.
All praise is due to Allah.
When we go through certain things in life, they are made to introduce us to aspects of ourselves that we don't even know is present. And so what you are sharing to us, Brother Ivan, is that the situation of the passing of your wife has introduced you to aspects of yourself that you may not like them, but thank Allah that you are aware of them.
Right.
You can't do nothing about what you're not made aware of.
That's exactly right.
Made aware of a situation in order to address it. So that's something of a mixed blessing, I would say, dear brothers. And may Allah continue to bless you.
All praise is due to Allah, my brother. This has been a phenomenal show, and I just want to ask you, let me bring Brother Manatee in and Sister Karima in as they get ready to depart. Tell us, Brother Manatee, some closing thoughts that you have about this show and what you might want to say to our Brother Minister as he is about to exit as well.
I have a quick last question for Brother Minister Demetric. And it came from, took the Abraham Muhammad's book, Real Love, Marriage, the Real Power Base of the Black Man. And she was saying that we all know that Allah God created himself as well as the heavens and the earth. We know what he did, but how? By what method did he do it? The key to the creative power of the black man is contained in the answer of this question. Can you elaborate on that in our closing?
Well, that's a big question, but I would say that, goes back to, I think, something that you shared from Brother Nuri's book, and that is, going to war with darkness and the development of our creative mind. The minister said that the devil has so robbed us of the power of our own being and the joy of the fruit of a creative mind that in the absence of that, the people retreat to infantile pursuits of joy and pleasure, primarily through sexual gratification, through the acquisition of material things. He said, but the greatest of all joy is the development of thoughts into ideas into things that ultimately manifest in physical reality. So Allah God, the originator, is in the attributes Khalik, the Creator. And he has given to us a creative mind. That's the reason why when Sister asked the question about what does a brother do in all of these different types of situations, well, Allah has given to him a creative mind. I have seen brothers in incarcerated environments do some miraculous stuff. And I said, man, if you would just apply your powers toward good, man, you could be a billionaire. You know, I've seen brothers make flowers out of toilet tissue. I've seen them create murals that look like they could be on the Sistine Chapel. I've seen them, you know, do elaborate stuff with electrical gadgets and stuff. We have a creative mind, but we have to go to war with the darkness of our ignorance, and darkness also representing any negative elements in our life that would cause us to negate our self-development and creative ability. And that is our power. Our manhood is not our genital expression, but the greatest expression of our manhood is what can we do with a creative mind to solve the problems of our personal life and to solve the problems of our community. And through solving those problems, through the development of our creativity, is the greatest of all possible joys.
Praise belongs to Allah. Thank you, Brother Manatee, for your beautiful question. For our Brother Minister, is there any closing comments that you have, my friend?
No, I'd like to thank, our listener audience and Brother Student Minister Demetrius and yourself and Sister Cecilia and Sister Karima for being on the show, and I really appreciate it that Allah blessed the brother to come forth with information that allowed me to unlock some things. And I praise Allah for you for bringing brother on the show, and we hope that he can come on again, and I wish him safe in his travel by Allah's grace and continue on serving the minister in our nation for all the research that he has been doing.
All praise is due to Allah. Thank you so very much, Brother Manatee. We always love whenever you're able to come on our show and give us things to think about in 2019. All praise due to Allah. We want to go to you, Sister Karima. Any last closing thoughts, my dear sister? Sister Karima? She told me that the person's phone was going out, so that may be what happened to her. I just want to say to you, Brother Minister, I really enjoyed you, and my wife did as well. We've learned so much from you. What we were taken by when we first met you was your humble spirit. That is the spirit that's really reflective of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we loved it, and we thank Allah for you and what you are doing. Your work has been very wonderful throughout the nation of Islam, and we are better because you are in the nation, and we count you as one of our friends and our family. Do you have any closing thoughts, Brother Minister? Any website that you can give out? Any, especially with ordering this wonderful book of yours?
Yes, sir. Well, I would just say the same thing to you, Brother Marcus and Sister Cecilia. Great love and admiration for you. And I think that the same is said of you, that our nation is better because you are in it and the work that you are doing. And to be a champion of a cause, every cause needs a champion. And you all are championing the cause that is really oftentimes it gets lost in so many other competing priorities.
Yes, sir.
We have so many things that take our time, but that you all would champion the cause of strengthening our marriages and our family life, I believe is a divine work. My website is researchminister.com. Any of our books can be ordered directly from the website. The new book, Manhood Principles from the Holy Quran, can be ordered there. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Instagram at Brother Demetric, Twitter at Brother Demetric, Demetric Muhammad on Facebook. And, we just, look forward to engaging, in meaningful conversations and discussions, that lead us towards solving the problems of our people.
All praise is due to Allah. Thank you so much for coming on our show and really being a light among us in the nation of Islam. We thank you so much, and we love you, and we love your family. Thank you very, very much. Are you married, my brother?
I'm not married.
What?
Not yet? Oh, my God, brother. You probably got a million.
No, I'm not. Let me say it like this. I'm divorced. I was married.
Okay, yes, sir.
But I am divorced. Not that I've never been married. I'm divorced.
All praise is due to Allah. Well, we got to get you married quickly, brother, because this is... you have a whole lot of sisters chasing you because you sharing this great wisdom of the minister. All praise is due to Allah.
Wait, we just talk about the power of marriage. So yes, sir, I can understand. We'll give you time to heal, sir. Yes, sir.
All praise is due to Allah.
I was married for 18 years.
Allahu Akbar.
So I very grateful to Allah for my ex-wife, a wonderful person, a wonderful sister, and grateful to Allah for my children. And so right now, I would say I'm married to my work and my mission. And so, but definitely at some point in the future, if it is Allah's will to, make that a reality, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yes, all praise is due to Allah. Thank you so very much for sharing with us. Sister Say, we want to get some closing comments from you.
All praise is due to Allah. Thank you so much, Student Minister Demetric. We knew that you would give us an excellent show, and we thank Almighty God for your time that you gave to us tonight, and we know we will be calling you back for some more pointed and very deep spiritual conversations to help us to go another degree into knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and to be around the Honorable Louis Farrakhan like you are. Then we know you're getting direct sunlight. So it will be an honor to have you back on the show. We want to thank Sister Karima, Brother Manatee, for your consistency, always here to support the show, The Marriage Keepers. And we want to thank all the believers and those who are guests and friends and family for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down to listen or do listen as you're busy getting ready for your week. May Almighty God bless you with a safe, successful week as we get prepared for you for next Sunday, God willing, for another interesting and dynamic topic. We love you, and may Almighty God bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
All praise is due to Allah. We are so wonderfully blessed by Brother Student Minister Demetric Muhammad's presence on our show tonight. We want to let you all know that we are accepting donations from anybody who wants to give us a donation to help us in our work we're doing. Just go right to the show page and you'll see how to donate right there on the link for you, and we'll accept your donation to PayPal. We also would like to let you know that we are hosting the marriage retreat this year. By the grace of God, we're going to be in the city of New York City, and we're hosting the marriage retreat on August the 15th through the 20th, or the 19th. We're hosting it from the 15th through the 19th in New York City. And you can go to our website, you can go to our Facebook to get all the details for it. We hope that you will come because we're going to do something like you have never seen. We will have Minister Tony Muhammad before us. I'm not sure if he'll be there next week or the week after, but we want to let you know that we are coming very strongly this year because we're going to talk about how you can have peace in your marriage and your relationship, and that's what we all are desirous of, to fight Satan, the Satan within, the Satan without. We want to have peace, and that's the only way I know that you can do it, is to have a peaceful and loving home. And so that's what we're going to deal with the help of Allah this year at the marriage retreat very strongly, and I hope that you will join us for that. That's only for couples who are married. If you got your boo, I'm sorry, you can't come until we know for sure that you are married. That's the only way you're going to get in there, because we're going to be checking you to make sure that you're married at the door. So thank y'all very, very, very much. We have a wonderful song that, whenever we have a wonderful student minister come on our show and bless us as our student minister blessed us tonight, we feel like we have to play a beautiful song that would represent what he did to us. And you all know what the song is. I'm going to play it for you because you may not know it. But Let the Church Say Amen by Marvin Winans. That's our go-to song. It's so powerful and it's so real. Thank you, Brother Demetric, for blessing us tonight. Let the church say amen.